I am not Kevin Drake. Kevin Drake will not be with us this week as he is suffering from, well, excuse me, a little laryngitis. However, I am the producer, Harry, and I will be here tonight with. I'm gonna have John, RJ, and Michael will be here a little bit later on. We're gonna talk about some stuff. Right off the bat, I want to say something here. We are going to be talking about something that maybe people haven't thought about. Maybe you listeners have not thought about this, but will the success of last night's AEW Double or Nothing pay per view event and the launch of a new wrestling promotion affect Vince McMahon and the XFL? We'll be talking to our panel about that tonight. We'll be getting a little bit of information about legendary football star Bart Starr, who did pass away this week. And we're going to be talking about 7 prospects that are in the NFL that came from the AAF. We're going to talk about what are their options, what are the possibility of these men making a full-time position on a team in the NFL. Right now, I want to turn over to John Turner here. John, this week we had tragic news. We had some tragic news. We had the passing of Hall of Famer, legendary football player Bart Starr. Can you give the listeners a little bit of rundown of his career for the young ones out there listening who may not know who Bart Starr was?
Yeah, how you doing? So Bart Starr, Brian Bartlett Starr. Boy, Bartlett, you don't see that name come across your desk often in the 2019s these days, do you? Believe it or not, my grandfather's middle name is Bartlett. But, yeah, man, he went to Alabama. So Alabama was a good football program way back in the day. So passed on yesterday, legendary Green Bay Packers quarterback. A lot of people probably don't know that although they were statistically some of his better years, he was actually at the end of his career in those the first 2 Super Bowls, which were not actually called the Super Bowl. Packers won 3 straight championships. They won, I guess, 66, and then 67 and 68 are considered the first 2 official Super Bowls, although that was not named the Super Bowl yet at the time. And he was at the end there. After the end of the second one, Lombardi stepped away to take a job as the coach for the Washington Redskins. He never made it through the year. I think he died during the season or just before the season started, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. And I think it was Sonny Jurgensen was the quarterback in Washington then. He's got some great stories of the little bit of time that he was able to spend with Lombardi. But this is about Starr. Because Lombardi stepped away, obviously Vince Lombardi, very integral part of the game. The Super Bowl trophy is named after him. He decided to stick around with the Packers for a few years to get a replacement at quarterback. Also, they were dealing with a new coach, little lack of experience there. So he wanted to stick around and give the fans, another familiar face to hang on to, try to help the team break into a new era, so to speak. They didn't get back to the big one, obviously, and his stats started to decline a little bit. He had one more pretty good year as a starter where he had about a 90 quarterback rating. He went over 100 quarterback rating twice in his career. And if you look at some of his numbers, by the way, they're almost comical compared to what quarterbacks do now. But when he retired with all kinds of records, as far as yardage, touchdowns, and ratings and completion percentage is concerned. But these numbers in today's respects are like Rex Grossman-esque. type numbers. I mean,
Rex Grossman.
I'm telling you, the year he won a Super Bowl, 1967, he had 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. Okay, so if you're telling me that those kind of numbers will win you a starting job in today's game, you are sadly mistaken.
Unless you're Nathan Peterman. Nathan Peterman got a starting job for some time last year, which is a miracle in itself. So.
Well, that's because the guy that he took over for was even worse. But you know, the guy threw for 2,400 yards twice in his career. Drew Brees throws for double that like every year. Okay, I can't think of a year where Drew Brees hasn't thrown for about 4,800 yards in the last decade.
Hold on. Let's qualify that. Okay, when he was playing football, the seasons were 10 game.
Okay, I thought they were 14.
They were no Bart Starr. These guys were playing in. No, they were playing a lot less games. So if you want to sit there, and I've heard this done to the great Jim Brown.
Oh boy.
People go out and they say, well, he only did this and he did this, but he did it in a lot less games. Do you understand the difference
hold on now. Jim Brown
six?
Definitely played 14-game seasons, so Bart Starr had to play 14 games.
Okay, but here's the point. No, they played less games. So
14 games.
Okay, but still, there's 2 games where they're not getting stats where these guys are racking up stats. That's something that irks me. You cannot say that a guy like Peyton Man. Well, you could say Peyton because Peyton worked for everything he got, but a guy like over there in them Patriot people, them people, a guy like that, you can sit and you can tout everything he's ever done. However, he did it with more time to do it in. It wasn't like if you put him out there in the same league that these men played in and see what he would have done. What would happen if he took a real hit from a player when these men were men?
He retired after 2 years max.
Exactly, because back then the men were men. They weren't pansy sissy Marys who valued their face because they could make money after the game.
At the time, I mean, your fearsome foursomes, Deacon Jones leading that team, your Alan Page is terrorizing everybody. I mean, the NFL is a different beast. There was no pass interference at the time. That rule didn't come into play until 1978. So there's no protecting your receivers. The league also had a real rival during the 1960s in the American Football League,
if we get
the AFC.
If we get
without
down
Bart
to it,
Starr being such a good player, you could argue that without that Packer dynasty, which was cornered by Bart Starr, the AFL would have had a much better chance of dethroning the NFL than forcing a merger.
And I think real quick, what maybe what's being misinterpreted here is I'm not saying that Bart Starr is any less of a quarterback than today's quarterback. Okay, I understand the inflation, the value of the dollar has gone up over the years, and the game has evolved. What my point was is that just looking at the numbers, you go down these box scores, it's funny to see that one of the best quarterbacks in his time, and obviously he laid the foundation for the game we all love. He was one of the the biggest names going in his day, and it's just funny to look at the numbers and see at the end of the year, this guy won a championship. He throws for 9 touchdowns and slightly under 2,000 yards for the year. Yeah, I get it. 14-game schedule, and of course Lombardi. He could have cared less whether he passed the ball 3 times a game. I mean, Lombardi wanted to play 3 yards in a cloud of dust until, the cows came home. So, quarterback, he'd probably run without a quarterback if he could. But
he had one of the best backfields that nobody ever talks about. You had the Golden Boy, Paul Hornung, and Jim Taylor both back there. And if you are not familiar with these men, these are 2 of the great halfbacks and fullbacks of all time, and they don't get represented. Another thing that we have to remember is the passing game was really in its infancy during this era in the NFL. Don Hutson had only come around about a decade before Starr hit the field. And Don Hutson, cited by a lot of people, is the first modern-day receiver, so to speak. So passing game was pretty new. Also, you brought up the Patriots earlier. Listen, Patriots fans, you want to talk about late round draft picks? How about Bart Starr? This guy was picked in the 17th round. There aren't 17 rounds anymore. He was picked 200. This guy is the better late pick story than Tom Brady.
Didn't they used to have all those rounds in the same day? God, how many pots of coffee you think they ran through?
I don't think it was coffee, man. I think it was something a bit stronger.
Yeah, 8 balls. But hey, another legend.
I apologize,
Famer,
but
big time.
Yeah.
We're talking the Green Bay Packers here, the same team that Brett Favre never lost a game for, in temperatures under 32 degrees. From 1991 to whatever year it was when he finally lost.
07.
Yeah, 07. The back.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the back end twilight of his Green Bay days, you know what I mean? Just an amazing football tradition up there. Obviously, Bart Starr is one of the reasons that it's almost easier to find a liquor store in Saudi Arabia than it is to get a hold of season tickets in Green Bay,
Yeah,
So.
and my offense comes at the fact that, people will sit there and they will say, well, his stats, his this, his that. Think about the era in which he played and how the game was played back then, and understand that those stats are those are more impressive than any stats a guy today can rack up.
Here's an interesting question, because you mentioned Jim Brown, Harry. What if Jim Brown doesn't retire that season before Super Bowl I, and he decides in his prime to make it another run? Do you think that it's the Browns and not the Raiders that meet up with Bart Starr in the first Super Bowl?
I believe were they in the same division even?
The Browns and the
Raiders?
Packers?
The Raiders.
Wait, the Browns
back at that in that day, weren't the Raiders part of Cleveland's division for a while?
Was Cleveland an NFL team or an AFL team?
AF.
They were an AFL team.
Well, definitely the Raiders were definitely an AFL team.
But what I'm wondering is, were they the same? Like, I don't remember, but I believe at some point in time, like, the Raiders were part of the same exact division in the AFL that the Cleveland Browns were in, because of the way they did things and the fact that they're...
Oh, the division. Well, I do know this. Yeah. I know that the playoff realignment thing didn't happen. Like, I know, didn't Miami, the perfect team, Miami Dolphins, play an away game in the playoffs or something like that because of the way they used to align the seeds in the playoffs? It's crazy.
Yeah, it used to be a difficult situation.
Yeah, I mean...
But it would be interesting to see, we're talking, you mentioned Jim Brown. You're from Ohio. He's my all-time favorite player. I don't think there's ever been a more dominant. I don't care. You can throw Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods out there at me, whatever you want to do. Jim Brown, to me, is still the sliced bread of athletes. When it comes to anything sports, he's better than that guy in bowling that bowls over 300. But I just always kind of wondered, what if he decided to give it one last run? Do we think we would have got a few more years? And wow, how about a Bart Starr? How about a Vince Lombardi versus Jim Brown Super Bowl? What would that look like?
Exactly. I mean, that is a situation that could have changed the way football is today.
Wait, the Browns were NFL, I think, actually. No, the Browns were NFL because they came in from the All-American Football Conference with Otto Graham.
Well, the AFC and NFC merged, and the AFL became part of the NFL, I do believe. But the AFC and NFC.
Yeah, but I'm saying the Browns jumped from the AFC to the NFL, so there's no way they could have been part of the AFL during that time period. Is what I'm saying.
That's why I just asked whether they were part of the same division, being the same. Were they both considered to be an East Division, West Division, Northern, Southern?
So the best they could have done is meet each other in the playoffs. You're saying they wouldn't have actually met in a championship game. Is that what we're confirming here?
And whoa,
I don't have my Google.
Hold on. The Cleveland Browns are multiple-time American Football League champions. So yes, they were in the AFL. I'm not stupid.
Yeah,
they were in the AFL, and they hold on.
And I might be mistaken. Isn't 1967 I don't want to go down memory lane all
I'm
night
Googling
here,
it here.
even though I don't
Google
mind.
it.
I love football history and history in general. But isn't 1967 the year that Jim Brown joined Muhammad Ali and that other group of African American athletes that really stood up and took a stand for the social injustices at the time? They have like a panel, and they kind of went on like a series of questions and answers and things like that. And I believe there was like a movement, and I think it was 1967. That might have been the year that Brown retired.
60 to
And I think,
69.
wasn't that when Muhammad Ali
Yeah.
was suspended by boxing?
Yeah,
So it
I
was like
am.
perfect timing for them both.
So,
And of course, 67 was a big year in
so
American history.
RJ, here's some history for you, bro. A little bit of history
All
for
right.
RJ. RJ, from 1960 to 69, the American Football League existed. It preceded what was known as the American Football Conference.
No, what I was talking about was the AAFC, the All-American Football Conference, the 1940s league that the Browns merged with the 49ers into the NFL. I'm aware that the AFC is a successor
Well,
to
the
the
NFL
AFL.
didn't come to be until the 70s, I believe. They merged in
No.
70 to become
Well, what are
part
you
of the
talking? Are you
NFL, the
talking
national.
NFL
But the National
post-merger
Football
NFL?
League is the National Football League came about when the American Football League, or the AFC, merged with the National Football League, the NFC, to become the national NFL, or
No,
National Football
AF.
Conference.
So
They
that hold on,
merged to
hold on, hold on,
become the
hold on,
NFL.
Harry. I think we're miscommunicating here because the name National Football League was used by the same organization starting in 1922. So
Okay,
the
that's
NFL has been
not
around
the
since
same thing
22.
that's here today. That is nowhere near what today's NFL is. Today's NFL
It's
has
the
nothing
same
to do with that league
organization, though. It's the same
whatsoever. It's just a
organization.
name.
There have been.
It's not.
It's like
No, 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 no. It's
Harry,
just a name.
Hear me out for a second, okay? All right. So how I'm seeing it and how I'm saying it is, it's like how technically Capital Pro Wrestling became WWE through evolution. I'm not saying it's cut and dry. What you're talking about is the merger era, when the AFL and NFL merged, and then it was AFC, NFC for conferences, and the NFL as a whole league.
Okay. But yeah, the NFL you're talking about is not the NFL that exists today. I'm pretty sure that it's like a
No,
name
they didn't
only
go under.
thing.
They came close to going under in the mid 40s, but then the Steelers in Arizona. No, then the Steelers and the Cardinals combined for a season when they called themselves the Card Pit, and that was a horrible name. And then another season, the Steelers and the Eagles combined to become the Steagles. That's when the NFL came closest to going under. But the NFL is still the same NFL that was around back in 1922.
Okay, yeah, but so anyway, but the interesting thing, if you look at the history of the NFL, is the original teams were the Akron Pros, the Columbus Panhandlers, the Decatur
Panhandlers?
Buffalo.
Did
Uh,
you
the
just say the panhandlers?
Yeah, the Columbus Panhandlers in Columbus, Ohio.
That's the best they could come up with? Come
Yeah,
on, that's your state.
well, the club was founded in 1901 by workers at the Panhandle shops of the Pennsylvania Railroad. So there they got it.
Panhandle.
Wait,
Panhandle as in the shape of the land. Like
no,
the. Oh, I thought you
yeah,
meant like.
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
I thought you meant people that are looking for loose change.
yeah, no, no,
No,
no, no.
no, no.
The-
Yeah,
Let's see.
1920, we had the Arkham Pros,
We
you don't
have
want to be a
the
also
ball.
All-American,
Dayton
and the Bulldogs.
Triangles. We have Detroit. We have the Canton Bulldogs, one of the most
That's the
legendary
iconic team
teams.
from that era. Jim Thorpe.
The Green Bay Packers, the Hammond Pros, the Chicago Cardinals, the Rock Island
The
Independents, the Muncie
the
Flyers.
Dr. Staley's.
Okay,
Dr. Staley.
who in the
became
hell
Chicago
names a
Bears.
football team the Chicago Tigers?
The Tigers. Lions and Tigers and Bears.
Well,
Oh
we'll
my.
see. The Cleveland franchise became the. They were also called the Cleveland Tigers. So you had two Tigers.
Well, they had 2 Rough Riders in the CFL up until a few years ago. So
I don't think anyone
Yeah.
ever wants to hear the words race, Racine, and Legion in the same thing. The
the best
connotation.
team, the best team ever to come out of Racine was a female baseball team.
Yes,
Uh,
League of Their Own. Yeah,
and,
Peaches, right?
you know what?
No, that was
They
Rockford.
they
Rockford the Peaches.
and they stole one from the Rockford Peaches. Excuse me. There's no crying in baseball. Let's get one thing straight right now.
Okay.
Uh,
So,
uh,
on a different note, damn it. I
Hey man,
posed.
rest in peace, Bart Starr. Let's
Yeah.
get one thing out there.
yeah.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
we're getting a
would
little
like to,
education
we'd like
here.
to send this guy off nicely. I think the Packers have done him justice. They've got an excellent fan base up there. They do a great job honoring their all-time greats up in Green Bay. I would love to be able to sit in any seat at some point before I die during a Packers game and just take in and experience what it's like to see a Packers game at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, they have
the fact
that.
it's still called Lambeau Field. The fact that the town still owns the team, the residents, you get a little piece of them if you buy a home there, all that.
John, I'm willing to spend tax money on that. I mean, I think that's one of the best things for you to spend tax money on. That after all the necessities, after all the needs, that's one of the best wants you can spend tax money on.
I completely wouldn't mind if I mean, here's a quick question, Harry. Here's a question for you. How are the Packers able to go this long with this exception that they don't necessarily need a singular entity owning the team, like a majority owner, and they just have a governing body, a general manager. I believe they've got VP of operations and so most of the positions that other teams have, but they don't technically have an owner. But the city owns them, or
It's
the
held in
people of the
public
city.
trust.
How exactly does it work?
Because
you live closer to
I
Green Bay
would
than
I would assume that it's held in a public trust. That team is held in public trust by the city of Green Bay. Therefore, it's property of the citizens of Green Bay because the mayor can't own it. So it would make logic sense that a public trust that the people of that city own, that is the team. I would imagine that there isn't jack that the NFL can do about it because, well, they've been here from day one. And are you really going to go and have a problem with a team that is responsible for creating the industry in which you make your livelihood, or are you going to sit back and go, okay, that's fine, okay. The legends that came out of there, the fact that Vince Lombardi is the coach's coach. He is the coach of all coaches.
Bill Belichick now, sir.
No.
Oh, no. See, if we're going to go into top head coaches of all time.
No. Hold on. Let me finish. Before we go way out into left field, let me finish this line of question because I was actually going somewhere. Number one, do we think that this model of ownership could exist in other cities? Okay, because like I've thought about, hey, after 3 years in the XFL, if they experience success, do we think we could see an M&M in Detroit owning 49% of an expansion team,
Yes.
or David Hasselhoff owning 49% of one in Baltimore? I know you love David Hasselhoff, Harry, so I figured I'd throw him in there for you. But do we think that this could happen where the people of the city get a piece? Now, here's a good question. If I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I own a home, which means I have a stake in the team, if I go out and buy an Aaron Rodgers jersey or a Preston Smith jersey, can I deduct that from my taxes?
I don't know. But here's the thing.
I love that's where your mind goes, John.
Here's the thing,
I got
John.
4 kids, man. We got a lot of taxes to deduct here, so I got stuff to do. My electric bill's late.
So here's the thing. Here's my thought on that.
It
Could happen. It could happen, but, and this is a big one, is it something that would be allowed to happen? Now, you brought up Eminem in Detroit. Yes, I very much think that if he went to Alpha and he said, hey, look, I'm going to give you this much capital, startup capital, we would like a team in Detroit that we can be proud of. I'll use my connections in the area to find a suitable venue and to get everything that's needed, because that his name alone in Detroit is going to pull networks, and it's going to pull a venue toward, hey, this is an M&M back thing, so this is Marshall Mathers doing this. It's gonna be his name alone will assist. Now, let's move to a city like Tupelo, Mississippi. No, you know what? Let's go down to Birmingham,
Just south
where
of one.
where we know, whether or not anyone wants to admit it, Birmingham loves football. They didn't have the greatest AAF show out, but those fans love football down there, and they came out for that spring league. No matter what, they were there. Okay, things went downhill because maybe the team didn't treat the fans the way the team should have treated the fans. If you look at the promotions by the Apollos, for instance, they were doing everything to get their fans there. They were having promotions. They were doing things. They were probably having giveaways on the radio and on TV. Call in and win 4 free tickets to the Apollos game this week. Plus, they were successful. Now, let's say a city like Birmingham. Is there anybody there that could go to Alpha? And I notice I'm not saying the XFL. I'm saying Alpha. I'm saying Vince McMahon with capital and be able to pique his interest in a market, because we all know Vince is not stupid one bit, and Alpha is the parent company. This is going to be, John, would you agree that perhaps that by the time XFL launches, it will be $1 billion commodity? It will have $1 billion worth of equity to start day one.
So, are you talking about Alpha, the entity that VKM has started?
Yeah, the Alpha Sports and Entertainment, the parent company of the XFL, will have at least $1 billion capital to.
Well, I'd have to know a little bit more on how.
Right now, he's in over 500 mil.
In my opinion, wouldn't they be in the red?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
By the start of the season, that's a serious question.
Now, let's
because all they've done is spend, and don't tell me they're selling that many XFL hats and shirts out there.
You also wait. You're correct. You're correct in what you say. You're correct. However, I want you to think about this.
Assets
guaranteed,
alone, okay.
Guaranteed commercial revenue. Okay, guaranteed contracts with the stadiums that are there. They're going to get. Vince is getting something from Mercedes-Benz. He's getting something from every venue that the XFL will be in. He's getting paid. He's got a deal.
What you're saying. I see what you're saying. So here, let me try this on for a second. I'll do some quick math because I'm pretty good at this. $400,000 a game times 43 games a year. What do you got? 43 times 400,000 sounds about like $160 million.
Okay.
Or is that $16 million? $16 million.
Okay.
And some change. 3 times 4, $17.2 million. That's
per
what
season.
It sounds like to me.
Per season.
Okay, so $17.2 million worth of television that they're not paying for, that you can kind of consider them worth.
Yes.
All right, so then they've got a deal where they're splitting, I don't know what the number is, 50-50, the networks and them, whatever advertisers are coming
revenues.
in.
There's
hey,
a
I want
split.
to air.
There's a deal there.
Johnny's HVAC company wants a TV spot. I'll pay $5,000 4 times this season.
Well, I would think it's going to be more. See, here's where you're missing the mark, John. The point is with those revenue contracts for the ads, I want you to think about. Don't ever. We are the one. There is one person here who I talk about a lot because I know who the man is and I know what he will do and what he's capable of, and I believe I understand his logic and what he's attempting to do. Okay, he has financed a football league because he has a passion for it. He doesn't want it to fail. He's going to do everything to get it to succeed. He has spent the last 30 years of his life building a company that was a fringe thing. Not 40, 50 years ago, pro wrestling was not anything like it is today. 40 years ago, Vince McMahon made his play. And within the last 30 years, professional wrestling has become a worldwide thing. It is never going anywhere. It's just like football, rugby, soccer.
I see what you're saying. He's got $800,000 and change in the bank right now that he's currently making withdrawals from. The incoming money is very minimal. However, you're onto something with the contracts, all right, with a television deal.
Yep. And we're looking at companies like Budweiser and Smirnoff. We're looking at alcohol brands, and
I get it.
we're
And
looking at
long
major
ago,
players in advertising with with literally hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on advertising their products. That's
long
who
ago
they're
in
going
an
to get.
interview far away, Oliver Luck jumped on. I can find it within 30 seconds, but I can't remember the guy he interviewed with. But it's a guy based out in New York. And one of the things that stuck out to me, he said, well, we're going to sign our quarterbacks pretty early on, and we're going to market them locally. Okay, that tells me, and I put out a little prediction earlier today, that the league is going to use these combines they've got, these 8 workouts in 8 days or whatever these invite things are going on, that they may sign their first few players, in the days coming after these workouts, and they may use that as an opportunity to, get 3 players signed for each team. They don't have to be the biggest superstars, but just 3 guys they've signed, at various positions. Put them in the uniforms, roll them out there on the stage with that weird theme music they need to work on, and introduce these players and the logos at the same time, saying, hey, we've got some players and we've got some names for the team. We know a lot of you guys have been eager, impatiently waiting for these things, patiently, whatever. Here they are.
Well, see,
and I think that would be an opportunity to sell a lot of merchandise and quickly increase the value of the league moving into, week 1 and all that moving forward. So, there's a lot of opportunity for them to become that billion-dollar company by the start of the season. And I believe that was your original question.
Well, it was,
$1 billion is not exactly, $20.
Exactly.
So, a billion is a billion.
Yeah, and you have
and
a
I
man
know a
worth
billion to Vince McMahon, if he wanted to, he could sell another briefcase full of shares of the WWE, and he could triple his personal worth, or what is the name of the company that's running XFL again?
Alpha Sports Entertainment.
Alpha Entertainment. He could triple the value of Alpha Entertainment, tomorrow if he wanted to. But
I have
I have a feeling some of this is tying into another topic that you'd like to touch on, so I'm going to go ahead and give it back.
Yeah, see, I have a strong feeling that the XFL and that maybe not the XFL, but Alpha will end up as a publicly traded commodity. It will become a stock on the market. Vince will because Vince knows how to make money using the stock market and raise capital. And
I'd invest a little bit in Alpha.
I would buy shares, and you can say what you want. WWE opened up trading at nothing, and now people complain, oh, it was at 90 and now it's only at 85. Well, here's the deal: it started as a low stock. It didn't cost anything to buy in.
$14 or something.
Yeah, it was cheap to buy in, and those people who bought in when it was cheap they're just giggling their butts all the way to the bank with all the money they've made so far, because they get yearly revenue and they get dividends and everything paid on product, and WWE can't help but make money. It's just the nature of the business. So, but there's other things that are going on in the world of professional football, especially with the XFL. Speaking of spending money, John, recently it broke that the XFL has spent RJ, was it $350,000 they spent?
That is correct. We're already. I mean, this is already over $250,000.
$350 or $375.
$350, I think. $350,000. And from what I've heard, it's mostly helmet, equipment, stuff like that. They have not purchased any team assets. So that means they're not buying any team names, contracts, any of that hoopla that we kind of have the pipe dream of wanting.
Well,
RJ, I got a question for you. I read the list of the things that they acquired, and one of the things is confusing me. I don't know if it's a typo or if because I Googled it. Okay, naturally, I Google my way into all the knowledge I have today. Look where I am now. But it said 58 metal lockets. What the hell is a metal locket? Because I didn't know whether it meant metal lockers, because it was MEDAL, not MET. Okay, it's spelled, and I looked at numerous sources, and they all said metal lockets. What in the high hell is a metal locket? Don't tell,
All right.
don't tell me
you
it's a
don't
picture
know
of somebody's
about.
grandfather in a little pendulum thing,
Well-
like a necklace.
Well, Google that. Google metal
Something that
locket.
Tom Hanks wouldn't let go of on the island.
Google metal locket professional football and see what it is. It might be something that's necessary.
I did, Harry.
Nothing.
I did a lot.
Nothing.
I wasted 2 hours of company time on the job today trying to figure out what a metal locket is.
Okay,
Because I just bought 58 of them.
Okay. All right.
But-
Well, the first thing that comes up when I look it up is
It's a picture of a little doggy and a girl hugging each other in the park inside of a necklace.
okay, that's not what I'm seeing. Well, it is something that looks kind of like what you'd be given. It's weird. Like it's almost like it's like a sports medal type thing. I mean,
What? What is it? Spit it out, homeboy.
it looks like a medal. Like in the Pee Wee Soccer League, it looks something like that.
A medal, like a participation trophy? What are you talking about?
Like.
What the hell is a metal locket? That's what I want to know. I want to know why they
Michael
spent
Washington, how are you
$375,000
doing? Michael
on
Washington
shoulder pads,
joins
helmets,
us here on the show right now.
and metal
Michael, we're in a quandary here. We're trying to find out what the hell a metal locket is
Michael,
in the
what
world
is
of
a metal locket?
professional
Welcome to the show,
football.
Michael. Hi.
I don't know. I'm
This
just
is-
as confused as you are.
Get your Googling butts together. Come on, man. I spent 2 hours.
Well, I'm reading the article right now.
This
as far as this is the XFL.
It's the
The
crown
XFL
jewel.
The purchase.
It's that thing that stupid old lady threw in the ocean off the edge of the Titanic, man.
That was a jewel. Anyways, this is it's an XFL. It was the
I've
locket.
lost me metal lockets, mate. Oh my God.
I think it might be medallion locket, like metal medallion. I'm trying to think out loud here, guys.
Hey, man, would you have an extra metal locket on you?
Do you have an extra metal locket, sir? A metal? What is a
I'm
metal
in the,
locket?
metal locket business, you know, it's like Bitcoin really taking
Well,
off these days.
Here's the question though. Why would they be paying oh wait, I'm seeing
Tired of smoking crack? Well, guess what we have in store for you? Metal lockets.
well Pro Football Talk is reporting that it's 375,000, not 350,000.
Ooh, I said 375. All right, now look here. Let me give you some quick math, Harry. Professional football helmets by Rydell, and I don't know these other two names of companies. They're running about $350 a helmet.
But see, here's the dilemma you're going to have with giving me a number like that because the XFL is developing their own helmet.
Okay.
A concussion-proof
$350
helmet.
per professional helmet times 1,000 helmets is $350,000. Okay. So then they bought about how many pairs of shoulder pads? I think I saw 400 pairs of shoulder pads, or 300 to 400 pairs of shoulder
They
pads.
could come in handy. Those could
How
come
many
in
shoulder
handy.
pads? How many?
That's
300 or 400?
well, if
It
it's
says it
I
on
don't
the
see-
article.
I don't
It
see a
says-
specific number. The one
I
I'm reading
believe
now.
Yeah, I'm on Pro Football
it said an
Talk.
approximate number. Anyway, a pair of shoulder pads are about $400 to $450
go ahead.
to the upper medium to high grade level for college professional football. Okay, in adult sizes, they're about $400 $450. So that's talking about $135,000 worth of shoulder pads.
Mhm.
Now let's not talk about these sacred metal lockets that only King Tut owned way back in the day before Charlie.
It's only
Ebersol-
58. You're stuck
before-
on these metal lockets. It's
Before
only 58
Charlie
of them.
Ebersol dug them out
It's
of the
58
pyramid.
metal lockets, John. You're stuck on this. It's 58.
I want to know what the hell they are.
Wait.
What is inside of them?
Wait, isn't there
Is
like
there
a
Robert
metal? Wait,
Kraft
wait.
photos on a massage
Isn't there?
table inside of these lockets?
Isn't there a?
Oh, my eyes. I do not want to picture that.
What is in these What is containing in these lockets?
Is there
okay.
not
Is it
on
the power of O'Banion's swing behind the ass mallet from that?
Anyhow, the total overall of what they purchased is probably a hell of a lot more than the money they spent on it. They're probably getting a good deal on it.
It's
and-
what Thanos was
Yeah.
trapped in.
And here's the other thing.
helmets, This is the interesting thing about this helmets. Is they're purchasing 1,000 of the helmets and 300 of the shoulder pads. The XFL is actually developing their own helmet for
Yes.
the league. So this is making me wonder that them
testing.
no. It's making me wonder if these helmets being purchased is so they could purchase the rights to this company to build their helmet
because
instead of going to an outsourced company like Tap Out or Adidas
they
or
can
whatever.
go right to Rydell.
Because they're probably going to get a better deal with Rydell doing it this way.
Yeah, because they already have a stock of their helmets. They just need to strip them, paint them, and then install what they are developing as far as padding and stuff into those shells.
Right.
And
because that's
save
what I'm
money.
saying. Looking here at this,
And
Harry.
then,
$375,000 for 1,000 helmets, 300 shoulder pads, the 58 metal lockets, tackling dummy shields, and even hundreds of rolls of athletic tape. I mean, that's hundreds of rolls of athletic tape alone could cost you $375,000. So,
well,
I
okay. I did some Googling, and I did find some stuff about athletic tape, because Google, works when you're not searching for sacred lockets. All right, so the high grade,
These lockets.
Hold on, no.
Go ahead.
You listen to me. A 36 pack case of high grade athletic tape, 1.5 inches, will run you about $57 prime item Amazon. Okay.
But
now
John, problem solved. Mystery solved. Mystery solved. It's not lockets. It's a misspell. It's lockers.
I knew it was lockers.
58 metal lockers.
58 lockers. So they bought the San Antonio Commanders lockers.
No, they're the giant equipment lockers that they haul the equipment into each game.
Oh, equipment lockers. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. See?
And here's the other thing.
And it took you 2 hours on company time, John.
Now,
2 hours on company time.
Now hold on, guys.
R is right next to the T on the keyboard. John.
Hold on, because currently
maybe some people that write fancy articles might want to spell check. Or know a guy that knows how to spell check. How about that?
Locket's a word.
Now,
yeah, it is a word for stupid people that don't know how to spell check.
And think about this. The AAF is in bankruptcy court right now, so Vince could be buying a lot more for nothing.
Isn't that a great idea?
John. In and out. I go to a therapeutic boarding school. I'm good at this stuff.
Well, let me tell you about this athletic tape. Hold on a second.
Let it out.
$60 a case. All right, you get 36 rolls for $60. Now that's run of the mill about $1.85 per roll. Okay. Now I can tell you from moving lots of stuff in my lifetime, you can probably get about 48 to 60 of these cases on a pallet. Now I would assume that they have a metal locket full of these pallets. You can probably get 6 to 8 pallets of tape. So if we're talking 48 to 60 cases per pallet times 8 pallets, 8 times 6 is 48, 480 if you're multiplying by 60 times $60. That's 480 times 60. Who's my good?
$28,800.
Is that the exact retail price?
That's a lot of tape. That's a hell of a lot of tape.
That's not the number you're giving me, John. I get $28,800 worth.
480 times $60.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So a freight container, that's probably what you're running in. Maybe you had about 4 or 5 metal lockets full of tape. That's a lot of tape, bro.
Metal lockets, that's
right.
right.
What were you doing with all that tape, Charlie? Were you filming The Mummy Part 5?
They're just going to use the tape.
All right, there's a funny story that I've been waiting to tell, and I finally got an excuse. So, back during the World Football League, a team ran out of athletic tape mid-game, so you will not be seeing that in the new XFL. I've waited to say that factoid for years.
I remember hearing about that, too. Harry, where were you going? AAF, bankruptcy, what was happening?
The AAF is in bankruptcy right now, okay? This purchase has got to be made, get approval through the bankruptcy courts. That being said, this could also be the bargain basement. Remember, Vince McMahon paid $5 million to Time Warner for WCW. This could be the way for him to spend a few $1 million and acquire the entire AAF for nothing. Think about that, because if he buys this and part of the property and part of the AAF property are those team names and logos and stuff, those trademarks are all for sale in a bankruptcy court. Vince could buy all that and own the AAF and already have it all.
You could also buy the lease they haven't paid for the stadiums and then pay for it. And boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be a big sign?
Yeah.
I can tell you what, right now, I would not be surprised if if the first season was a hit, that we saw the San Antonio Commanders or an Orlando Apollos team being underneath the XFL banner.
Yep.
I know at first there was a lot of people that were possibly not saying that it was going to happen, but with this bankruptcy court, them going to buy the equipment now, Vince is a smart businessman, and I guarantee that if the XFL season 1 is as big as he thinks it's going to be, as big as we hope it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see him purchase the rights to the team's names and logos and maybe, just have their top 4 teams.
Okay, here's a question.
Yeah, right.
Harry, hold on. Harry, you're a little older than us, and you're a big fan.
Little?
I was there watching live when Shane McMahon showed up on Monday Nitro on the Jumbotron, wherever they were. I remember this like it was.
Well, he was in Atlanta.
It was one of the greatest moments in wrestling fan life.
Well, not
Did
Atlanta.
Vince McMahon, when he bought the WCW, okay, and then he started, offering the contract settlements with wrestlers to come over at whatever rate, did he also buy assets like this? Did he buy ring equipment?
Yeah, he owns WCW rings. He owns the sets for all the pay-per-view events. He owns every asset that WCW had. Pay-per-view event sets, Nitro sets.
Did he buy the metal lockets?
I don't know if they had metal lockets at the time.
How much did the metal lockets cost him when he bought them?
You know what he paid for the entire company that at one point was worth.
How much tape did he get?
I have no idea, and I really don't care because that's a stupid question to ask about a situation like that.
But you get where I'm at, right?
You know what he did get though? He got the contracts. He got the contracts of all those wrestlers.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys turned him down. That's why we waited so long for the
No. Oh, no. See, there is your misconception. What happened, had happened was, John, is that people like Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan had guaranteed contracts. Whether or not WCW produced one show, Time Warner had to pay them. Ric Flair had a 1-year deal on the table where if he went to work for Vince, Vince couldn't give him the same money Time Warner was paying him, and guess what? Flair sat at home and said, I'll take Time Warner's money. I don't have to do a damn thing.
Why work when I can just make welfare? I get it. But okay.
Well, welfare and actually being somebody who made a name for themselves in an industry and a company saying, hey, we're going to pay you $2 million a year, but you're exclusive to us. And then that company folds and they still owe you a year's worth of money. And because of the way the contract's set up, well, no matter what, if you don't work, you get paid. If you work, you get paid. But if you jump ship, you lose everything. A smart man's going to say, hey, I'm under contract. I'm going to sit at home and collect this money because, well, and these aren't guys, remember, nobody who sat out was not somebody that is not legend today. The reason Sting never jumped was because he was worried that he would get treated like he had seen other people in WCW get treated by WCW. Exactly.
Booker T.
Exactly.
Actually, they pushed Booker T.
Yeah,
Booker T was not. I'm gonna tell you right now. Booker Huffman was not allowed to shine the way he should have. He is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever step in the ring, and he was not allowed to shine. Multiple reasons for that. Booker Huffman. Booker T. Huffman.
Booker T.
Booker is no Dean Malenko. Okay, let's get one thing straight.
Dude, there are very few people that are Dean Malenkos, Ric Flairs, Arn Anderson.
I'm Dean Malenko.
Okay.
Booker T was no Jerry Lynn.
You know what? Speaking of Dean Malenko and Diamond Dallas Page, last night something popped off in Las Vegas, Nevada called AEW Double or Nothing. And I'm going to ask a question. I am going to ask this question. Does the success of AEW and the competition that's going to be coming the way of the World Wrestling Entertainment Company, as far as the wrestling product goes, will this affect the XFL?
No.
It shouldn't.
No.
Because, the reason right now is that you have Vince trusting the professionals with the football side of things. So that's supposed to be a plus. But knowing Vince McMahon like we do, we know he kind of likes to micromanage. He'll rewrite Monday Night Raw at the last minute because he can. And, there's all this stuff going on. And, Triple H has kind of been a bit vocal about how he wants Vince to kind of step down. Well, with this going on with AEW now, that's not going to happen. So I see Vince going to micromanage things over in WWE and leaving it to the professionals in the XFL. Now, do I think Vince is going to come over and peek his head around the door saying, if everything's going smoothly in Alpha Entertainment? Of course he is. He's Vince McMahon. He does what he wants when he wants. That's how Vince works. But I don't think Vince is going to – I think Vince is going to focus more on AEW because, as much as the XFL is Vince's passion project, I'm not going to take away from that. I have all the respect for the world for him to get up and going again. But, the WWE is something he built from back when it was the WWF in the Northeast United States. It's a global enterprise now. He's not going to risk losing that. He's going to have to trust all the luck. And, the worst thing he can do right now is give Oliver Luck some kind of creative control. That was just a joke about Hulk Hogan's creative control in WCW. But no, I honestly think Vince will. I think he's going to split the time 75-25. Probably 75 in WWE, excluding NXT. That's Triple H territory. And then you got 25% just making sure everything in Alpha Entertainment Incorporated is going smoothly.
I think he's going to spend less than 50% of the time in both spots. I think him being what is he? Boobs. He's what 97 now.
100.
Him and Betty White share the same birthday. I swear.
We have to. Let's make a statement here. Vince McMahon will never die.
Okay.
He is the only human being.
He drinks the blood of the Russian.
Well, I want you to understand that he is the only human being to have ever had God no-show because he was so afraid of him. So that means, logic would dictate that Vince McMahon is the Antichrist.
Well, we already know he was the higher power.
Yeah, he was a lot. But here's my thinking. This is what I'm looking at. We know that the WWE product is in a downward swing. It's got a big thing coming up here in October where they're going to actually split networks again with their product.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
And now,
on that note, let me ask you a serious question. When WCW made their big bold move to sign Hulk Hogan, weren't the WWF on a downward swing with Doink the Clown and Bastion Rosie and shit?
We don't make
different era.
We don't make fun of Doink.
I'm trying to say, I'm asking a serious question. Weren't they in a downward Archimedes counterclockwise spiral?
When WCW signed Hulk Hogan,
they were not in a downfall. They were not in a downfall. And this is a misconception with the WWE. The ratings weren't as good when Hogan was there, yes. But they were not losing money. They were still gaining money each year. The draw was still there. The gate was still up. The thing with the WCW was when Hogan went to WCW, WCW did the thing that WWE or F would not do, and they made him a heel. And that shocked everybody. We're talking Hogan had been the face since what?
See what Hulk Hogan signing with WCW did was put WCW on the map in front of the fans out there that figured WWF was the only game in town, because there were a hell of a lot of people around the world that had no idea that WCW even existed. They didn't get Georgia Championship Wrestling. They didn't know about Ted Turner buying Crockett Promotions and having a dispute with the board of directors of the National Wrestling Alliance, and therefore splitting off, and instead of it being an NWA branded product, it became a World Championship Wrestling became the product itself and the brand that went on to dominate for 83 weeks in the ratings against WWE and almost put Vince in the poorhouse. However, the signing of Hogan was it's sort of like if XFL could sign someone like a Peyton Manning.
It's like
I got your best. Walker. We got your best. The best that you had for the last 10 years, and now he works for us. And people began to take notice of WCW. Things go on. Hogan goes in. People like me get pissed because Ric Flair jobs the title to Hogan day one. And in hindsight, it made perfect sense. But when I was younger and it happened, I was so pissed off about it, I could see red. And that's what wrestling is about. And football is that way for fans. When our team loses, when our team doesn't do well, we get pissed off. We get upset. We gripe about coaches. We gripe about owners. We do all these things. Think about it. We do that. We're fans. Fans do that because we want the game to go our way. When it doesn't, we get upset. Hey, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. When Modell took my team, I was more than mad. I was ready to go up and harm people in Cleveland because you're taking my football team, my history. We all feel like that. We have an attachment. But for me, with the AEW thing, is WWE's getting a lot of competition, and Vince McMahon is an alpha male, alpha sports and entertainment. Get that? Alpha male. He is probably in the entertainment industry of all the people out there and everything that we know about Vince. He's probably one of the cleaner guys in the business of television production in the manner that he is with the power that he has. So he's a pretty upstanding person, even though he has blemishes on his record. Not everyone's perfect. We all make mistakes. We got to live and learn and move forward. Say what you will. But I think with AEW, this is going, because of what happened last night and the success and the buzz that's been created about this product now, and the fact that they will have national television, and that the fact that there are people like DDP and Bret Hart that now work for AEW and not WWE anymore. Now that there is an alternate outlet, will Vince be scrambling? Will XFL not get the attention needed because of Vince trying to right the ship that seems to be swaying a little bit in the waters where the waves are coming at it?
Harry, I still don't see Vince spending more than 50% of his time overall with either company. I think that, especially with Alpha Entertainment, he may be more focused for at least the first year to spend a majority of whatever time he's gonna develop, or whatever time he's gonna contribute is gonna probably go to Alpha Entertainment and the XFL, because let's make no mistake about it, Vince McMahon does not want the XFL to fail. This is one of the things that a majority of people do not realize, is that he does not want the XFL to fail. He didn't want it to fail in 2000. He doesn't want it to fail this year. And with that being said, I think that Vince at the same time is still going to step back and let Oliver Luck be the face of the XFL. He's going to let him...
He'll be the Jack Tunney of the league, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
Doing something.
Yeah, he's gonna take the opportunity to sit back and let Oliver Luck have this. He's going to have his input, but it's not going to be the stranglehold that we see with the WWE. Okay. And I know that Triple H is pushing and Stephanie McMahon is pushing for him to step away from WWE. So he'll have that opportunity and time to be able to focus on Alpha Entertainment and XFL and really, really buckle down and work with his top management team to make sure that this succeeds and does not fail.
And thank you for that, Michael, because that's what I was looking for. And I also want to say this, RJ, Oliver Luck will never be Jack Tunney because Oliver Luck is in charge of the XFL. Vince McMahon.
I said he'd be Jack Tunney, but he's actually doing something. I know Tunney was the kayfabe commissioner. I get that.
This has nothing to do with kayfabe, dude. This has nothing to do with pro wrestling. Oliver Luck is the head of the XFL. Point blank. There's no one else. Vince McMahon. He does it all. The only person all Vince is a banker. He's the paycheck. That's all. Oliver Luck is the head of the XFL. That's not going to change until he decides.
He's making $12 million a year, I believe, from Alpha Entertainment or the XFL. Oliver Luck is not a stick figure, okay? Yeah. Oliver Luck is a brilliant mind, a great public speaker, an excellent salesman. If you're asking me directly, which you're not, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in here, I think Vince. Hold on, I think Vince McMahon is going to spend the majority of his time staying in his lane as far as his relationship with this league. And I think that means establishing relationships, marketing the brand to the relationships and the connections that he already has, and increasing that however many fold he can. Okay, so Vince McMahon has been in show business for a long time. Okay, he's done business with Chevy and Ford and Dodge and Budweiser and Miller Lite and God
Snickers.
knows how many other, Nike and Reebok and
Time Warner.
Tap Out and all that other stuff. So Vince McMahon is going to have his hand in the cookie jar in the world of marketing, saying, hey, I've got another product. Maybe you've heard of it, the XFL. It's a football thing. We're bringing it back. I know it didn't work out too well last time, but I got this guy, Ollie, over here. He knows his stuff. We got some cool-looking young men quarterbacks that are going to be playing. Here's our kick-ass logos. Would you like to sponsor us in any way, maybe air some commercials? I can also throw in a spot during Monday Night Raw for you, or SmackDowns, and so on and so forth, or maybe even give you a little advertisement in a pay-per-view or on my ring apron or something to sweeten the pot for you, if you'd like to do that. But I could use a little help with my football league. I'm not going to be standing on the 50-yard line making emotional speeches. However, I'm calling you because we've done business before, and I'd like to do some more business starting right now. So I've got some dotted lines I'd like you to sign on, and some parameters I'd like you to read through. But, here's the goods that I'm selling you.
And here's the thing,
I think
John.
that's kind of going to be what Vince does this year, and in these first few years in general. I don't think we're going to see him in the booth with Dennis Miller and Rush Limbaugh, okay, or Tony Kornheiser. All right, I don't think that's going to happen. All right, I do think that we are going to see him, behind the scenes generating business for the league, like he knows how to do.
You know what he's going to do, John? You know what he's going to do? Do you know what he's going to do? He's going to work with each team president for the marketing of each city almost exclusively, and I bet you that's what Vince's role is going to be.
And here's the deal:
And,
Vince already knows
that goes
these markets because Vince is a traveling circus. Okay,
well, no, Vince has
been to every city. He's rented out every arena. He's dealt with people in these cities, so he went out of his way to make sure that they hired locally connected people in the markets that they're establishing football teams.
Mm-hmm.
That is genius move.
And see,
number
what
4 or
you've all
5.
described is what Vince McMahon is: a promoter. He started in pro wrestling. He became movies. He did music. He's does music. He does movies. He does multiple television products. He's a promoter. He sells his product. That is what Vince McMahon is so good at doing: is selling a product.
And that's the reason why I think that you're not going to see him in the limelight in this situation.
And that's how I think too.
It's because it's going to be Oliver Luck, the face of the league.
He said that. He said it. He came out and he flat out said it at the initial press conference back in last January, during the press conference last year when he announced XFL. Okay, when he announced it, he said all he was doing was founding a company to found the formation and the league. That's all. Alpha Sports is just that, the company, the funding company for this. It's sort of like you have, Asylum Pictures, but they need funding from another company in order to make their movies. They can have all this stuff they can do, but without that injection of multi-millions of dollars, nothing's going to get made. Disney can make all the Star Wars films at once because they got all the money and they own it. Before, if Disney wanted their hand in a Star Wars film, well, then they'd have to pay somebody to do it.
Hey, man, what if he sells WWE to Disney, man?
That will not happen. There is nobody on this planet.
It's a man
Disney,
in a Mickey Mouse costume.
There is
Oh, God.
no. The minute Disney touches the WWE brand, that
Jessica
brand
Rabbit,
dies.
new women's champion.
Disney kills everything. Disney kills everything it touches.
Hey, look. So as far as WWE is concerned with this AEW thing, and I did not watch. I don't know. A lot of people that I've read the comments of, they really enjoyed the show. I did not watch it. It wasn't free. It didn't come on, Fox or whatever. So, I did not watch. If somebody wants to text me the link to watch it free, or if it's on Cody, let me know. But I can say this, that I think competition is always good for an established company. Okay, he is an established company. He dealt with it well the last time this came rolling down the pike, right? He stood up to WWE, he took some losses, and then he eventually overcame and bought them. He beat them and bought them, okay? And I think he could do the same now. I don't think that he's too old to have a few new tricks up his sleeve. I think he knows how to combat adversity and competition well. I think that they have a well enough established company and a power plant where they train new wrestlers, and they have enough old guys on the roster to kind of come in and bump ratings up and create a new Monday Night Wars 20 years later, 25 years later. Okay,
I don't think we're going to get a Monday Night War.
Of raising the value of WWE, and if he can do that, he can sell more shares, okay, at a higher dollar amount and put more money into Alpha. And oh boy, does that mean that we can raise the salaries for the XFL players now that we've got more money? Could we see
3 years, John? 3 years, the XFL will have a pay raise for players. If it's successful, it'll be 3 years, and the pay raise will increase. Guaranteed.
Okay. I
guarantee it. Between the Fox, the ESPN deal, Vince McMahon backing it with as much as he's worth, I guarantee within 3 years that lower tier, you can go play for the NFL contract will be, if you sign with the XFL, it's exclusive, and it will be from the top of the roster to the bottom of the roster, and it will be a pay increase from top to bottom.
But don't you think it could double fold, though, with this AEW thing coming in and creating a little bit of Monday Night Wars? Because you saw,
No.
I only read, I didn't watch.
They won't go on Monday. They'll be on Tuesday.
They'll be on
Tuesday.
They'll be on Tuesday nights. They're filling that Tuesday void.
Dusty
SmackDown's
Rhodes'
leaving.
son bashed a model of Triple H's chair or something. So they're already striking first blood. And you know what happens when you
He
watch
needs to stop doing that.
When Rambo thinks that they drew first blood, what happens? He shoots the place up. So Vince McMahon is totally capable of shooting the place up here.
So wait. Okay, let me explain something to you.
He's not going to let
The man. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about money and overall value. Worth. The man who owns
3% for what,
All Elite, the man who owns and is backing the All Elite product is worth $6.2 billion. He owns an NFL team. He owns the Jacksonville Stadium that the Jaguars play in. He's an NFL
Is that
owner.
really an accomplishment, though?
Now hold on. Here's the point,
It's
though.
kind of like owning the Cleveland Browns up until now.
You know where you can take that one and stick it, right, bro? Right? You know where you can stick that.
By the way, that flash in the pan quarterback he's had for a few years now, he's about the equivalent of Matt Leinart.
Come on, Harry. You know I needed to take a shot at you. Come on.
God, I can't wait. I cannot wait for Kevin Drake to get back. This is the kind of abuse the producer gets on this show.
So you said he's worth how much? $6.2 billion?
$6.2 billion, okay? Now, understand that he is the financier of this whole thing.
Yes.
And his son loves professional wrestling, and that's how AEW got out there. With the roster of talent they have established, with the quality of production that they showed at an event on pay-per-view last night, with the quality of the program that they produce, the matches, everything. With all that being said and done, Vince McMahon owns the WWE, the most successful sports entertainment company on the planet. There never will be another sports entertainment company as successful. However, AEW is not sports entertainment, it's professional wrestling. And I think when you're talking about the symbolism and what Cody did was a way of saying that we are breaking the chain that you have on this business.
Like Daenerys Targaryen breaking the wheel, huh? We
are breaking the chain that you have on this industry, and we are going to bring people a show and a product. The product will be better than what you do, and the production will be just as good, if not better, than what you do. So real quick,
let me ask you guys something, because you guys actually watch wrestling, and I gave up when they disrespected all the guys during the invasion angle. I didn't like the transition of the way they
like that transition.
Okay, so I gave up. I said I will never watch again, and I never have. So I walked away. But you guys tell me, why is now, since your question was, will the AEW affect the XFL in a positive or negative way? If so, why or why not? Why would right now be the prime timing for a company like the AEW to come about? What has it been that WWE has been doing wrong or not doing enough of right that has opened the door for this? Okay.
Well, you know what opened the door for this? The Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes. Here, the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars owner being the backer of this, and
wait, let me add something to this question to you, and then I'll let you answer. Okay. So I'm trying to relate this into how it potentially affects the XFL, and maybe I'm kind of asking, has Vince McMahon lost it? Has he lost his mojo?
No.
You know what I mean? So when you gave me a partial answer, and I'm going to let you elaborate on it. So has Vince McMahon stopped doing what he used to do that made him so great? Because I've heard ratings are down, and attendance is down, and maybe there's not enough superstars anymore, or homegrown talent, or what is it?
Okay, so
now I'll listen. Yeah,
okay.
It's a two-part answer to this, and Harry might have a different perspective for it, but my perspective and what I know about the business and what I know about Vince McMahon and the way things are, and the thing with Vince is the fact that he's too stubborn and too hard-headed to change what has worked before. The booking of his top stars still strikes a bearing resemblance of Hulk Hogan, because Hogan was what made him rich, or made the company explosive.
Who's Hogan today? Who's Hogan?
Roman Reigns is right now.
The guy that's Rock's cousin or nephew?
Rock's cousin, yes.
Okay.
Whereas
all the leather, the long greasy hair.
And this
Khal
is
Drogo looking guy.
Yeah, and this is the one thing that most wrestling fans have been fed up with, because when you go from Hogan, the Attitude Era was something different. It was something that we hadn't seen in wrestling before. So they built stars without actually even meaning to, I don't believe. Honestly, I think Austin was a mistake. I think that the gimmick was there. I don't think the gimmick was expected to take off the way that it was that it did. The Rock, then they had was like, oh, well, The Rock has full charisma. Let him give a mic, just like be The Rock.
Mistake.
No, I don't think The Rock was a mistake as far as the gimmick was concerned.
That was lightning in a bottle. And
yes.
But
you had Austin and The Rock at the time, yeah.
And I was watching when he went from The Rock Maivia to The Rock. I remember that night. He was wearing the fancy shirt, sitting down on a leather couch, talking cocky. I said, I love this. I love the new Rock. Is he The Rock now? I love this. I remember that. Like it was.
But if you take a look at the booking, the way that the booking was done, it was very similar to the Hogan booking, but it was lost in translation because it was this employee versus employer deal. It was telling your boss to go stick it. It was The Rock spouting off the mouth, giving off these, ludicrous, promos, and having just jam-packed full of charisma. And then after they transferred from that, it was into what they called the ruthless aggression era, which was kind of like Triple H's era. But John Cena was starting to rise, and you could see Cena's booking doing the exact same thing.
Well, Cena started the ruthless aggression era with a comment he made when Kurt Angle had an open challenge, and Cena came out and he says, "What makes you worthy of a match with me?"
Yeah.
And Cena says 2 words: ruthless aggression, and then he pops the hell out of Kurt Angle and has one hell of a match.
And so Cena had the same booking, and it went on for years. And now Reigns is here, and it's the same booking. The problem with Vince is it hasn't changed. And the Conboy had wanted to get involved in wrestling for a long time. Nothing was coming. Nobody wanted to take on the WWE because of WCW folding. TNA tried it, and then TNA folded. And here's
Did they fold? Are they no more?
Well, they're not folded, but they might as well have folded.
They're just like a Florida-based
house. The brand name TNA is folded.
They're probably the 11th best wrestling promotion in the United States out of 10. So then you have the cons that want to do this, and then you see Cody leave, the Young Bucks doing what they did. So they approached Khan, or Khan approached them about doing something here in the United States after they did their first show. So here's the thing. AEW, if it continues to succeed, and the only problem that I see with AEW is their contracts right now.
What are their contracts?
Their contracts have freedoms to be able to wrestle in different promotions. They're not. They have very few that are just strict to the AEW.
Okay, so
the reason I say this is, but this is John. But let me finish this. The reason why I say that this is a problem is because it's very hard to build continuing storylines in the wrestling world that take place over periods of time if you have multiple people in multiple promotions and you only have a handful stuck to one promotion. You're going to get a lot of the same matches. So AEW is going to have to find a way to fix that. We saw it, and Harry will tell you, it happened with Ring of Honor, it happens with New Japan every now and then. So AEW is going to have to fix that. Now, with Double or Nothing and AEW's success that they had last night, it can push the WWE. And like you said earlier, if it pushes the WWE to get more creative, which means giving Triple H and Stephanie McMahon more, and Shane McMahon, don't forget, they're all three there now.
Yeah.
Give them more creativity and do it from a pro wrestling aspect with sports entertainment mixed in. Not sports entertainment with pro wrestling.
Exactly.
It give the WWE what they need to grow again, and then you could start seeing what Vince did. The shares go up, he takes the money out, and he pumps it into Alpha Entertainment. Because make no mistake, like I said earlier, the XFL is Vince's new baby, and Vince is not going to let it fail a second time.
Exactly.
Okay, so with that being said, when Vince's back is up against the wall, he retaliates and applies pressure against what's attacking him in a phenomenal way. Okay, he comes out splashing, and he does not stop with the hard overhand rights.
No.
Okay.
No.
What do you mean no? He's not a conservative.
No, okay, let me explain to you. Now my take on what Michael was talking about, okay? Vince McMahon has been known to do some stuff that was, a little shisty and shady behind the scenes to advance his product, okay? But anybody in business is guilty of things like this. Knowing things like this make me I understand who the man is and how he thinks. We were discussing the fact of perhaps Vince stepping down, and yes, I do think it's time for Vince to step down. I think the problem within the product that WWE is currently pushing is that there are talent there that are people like them, and they didn't need WWE to create them or make them who they are. They got over on their own. And WWE is just recently, like with Kofi and Becky, realizing that there are stars here that are going to be made that we didn't think anything about. Okay, and that harkens back to like what Michael said about the Attitude Era, where people came out and they just, here we go, just be who you are. Just, okay, here's what you're going to do, go do it. People like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, DX got free reign. The Rock had free reign. Nobody told The Rock what to say. You didn't have a Hollywood scriptwriter saying, okay, Rocky, you're going to go out there and you're going to give him a people's eyebrow, and then you're going to say, Rudy Pooty candy ass, and then you're going to talk about some, do you like pie? And then you're going to go out there, and oh yeah, then Triple H is going to come to the ring, and he's going to threaten you, and he's going to do some crotch chops, and then he's going to say something to you, and you and him are going to end up fighting, and then you're going to do a people's elbow, and after that he's going to give you a pedigree, and then the X-Pac's going to jump you too, and him and X-Pac and Triple H are going to beat you down, and then we're going to have a match next Monday night because now you're pissed. They didn't do that. You know why they didn't do that? Because the performers didn't need to be told what to say. They never did. They never do. If you look at any successful wrestling promotion, these guys don't have to be told what to say. Nobody writes down anything. They go out there and they know their character. They know who they are. They know what that character should be. It's sort of like going on the radio and being a character, or going on TV and being a character. They know what their job is, and they do it well. Some of them don't do it as well as others. That's why you give them managers who can talk.
Okay,
That's the problem. Is that Vince has taken WWE. Vince got to the point where when they became a corporation like they are now, he hired Hollywood screenwriters and former soap opera guys and people who wrote comedies and people who wrote Roseanne and a guy by the name of Vince Russo. For God's sakes, why did you hire him? There's all these things that happened. Okay, at that point in time, all the stars aligned for something to happen, and Vince cannot get himself to understand that the stars will realign, but it might be 5 or 6 years down the road. However, during the course that you're going under, there will be bursts of stars that are going to be a part of your alignment, that where you're going to have those 5-year run where you're making, $300 million a month in revenues, when arenas are full and pay-per-view tickets sell out in 4 minutes. All these things can happen again, but you're stuck in the mold that you created 20 years ago, and you're not willing to let what happened 25 years ago happen again, where it was all natural and Triple H got over because he's Triple H. Sure, he's Steph's whatever, but he got over because we liked him. That's why he's still here. The Rock got over. It's all those things. When the stars align, things are perfect. WCW had it happen to him for 83 weeks. Okay, Hulk Hogan made himself relevant again when he joined the NWO. He recreated Hulk Hogan, and you know what? That made him legend. Okay.
So okay. All right. So he can overcome and he can defeat the incoming usurper dragon princess, all right, which is the AEW. All right, so that's...
No, AEW is not a dragon princess. AEW is a wrestling company that's going to be around for a while because the owners want the product, because TNT wants that product. They got a 5-year TNT deal. 5 years guaranteed with TNT.
Okay, so, but wait a minute.
5 seasons.
Wait a minute now. We got to tie this back into football, though. Okay, so what I get the gist and feeling of between you two, and I don't know where RJ is. RJ on a bathroom break or what? Is he cutting the commercial all by himself? I don't know. But is this lethal attack by AEW? The question was, is it going to impact the XFL? My thought was yes, and you guys have touched on kind of why. You've elaborated on my thoughts of why I think it will be a positive for the XFL. I think it will generate more interest in the WWE by default by simply being a rival company. And I think they will be able to invest in themselves a little bit more and up their game just enough to make their assets, their company more valuable. And I think this will open the opportunity for Vince McMahon to sell off a little bit more, whether he sells it to the public or whether he sells it to Shane and his daughter and Triple H or whoever the hell he sells it to. It's neither here nor there. But I think that adds more fuel to the fire for the XFL. Okay, which is probably where he thinks his smart money resides right now, if you're asking me. So I think the answer is yes. This new competition can help the league, okay? And I think this can springboard into, a much more fruitful financial position for it. So do we all agree, or do we all kind of... Are we all on the fence on that, or?
No, I don't disagree. I just don't know how. If it impacts the XFL, it's going to impact the XFL in a good way, and it's going to impact the XFL in a good way because it's going to lead Vince to be able to have access to more money through his WWE business to transfer over once he buys shares to put into the XFL. I mean, that's the biggest. as far as negative, you can't really compare the two. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Oh, look what just happened. Charlie
But-
Ebersol hires, who did he hire to help him? Who's the football guy that he got from the Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots? The guy that rode with him to the heart of darkness.
Bill Polian?
Bill Polian, thank you. So the AEW/AAF said, you know what? We're in business now too. We're in the football business. We're coming right at the XFL. We're going to be better. We're going to do stuff. We're going to develop players for the NFL. We're going to give guys one more shot to get back in a big league, and we're going to be nicer and shinier, and we're going to have a cool ass app to go along with our football league. Well, that failed. Okay. And I think that only added fuel to the fire for the XFL. Not only did it allow them to buy cheap helmets and shoulder pads and
metal lockets.
Yeah, and metal lockets and cases of tape. Okay. Yeah. All right. But it's also allowed them to potentially, like we touched on, potentially buy up naming rights and maybe even coaches' contracts and things like that. And so I think this AEW thing is nothing more than the AAF reincarnated.
Now, I had
Good
a thought.
God Almighty, a conspiracy theorist like myself. I mean, I'm this close to telling you that that aliens
I just had
own
a thought.
all the acreage in Area 51, let alone are buried underneath. But hey, I think that this AEW thing is nothing more than an AAF, just a distraction that's going to mean more money in the pockets. For
AEW is not going
anywhere.
It's not going.
The AEW is not going anywhere.
It's the XFL, and honestly,
they're not going to go anywhere.
if you really want to go with that analogy, John, I would say the XFL is looking to do that to the NFL. If you really want to think about it.
Businesses before, didn't he own the Manchester United or something? Or wasn't he going to buy Wembley Stadium? I mean, he's got his hands in a lot of stuff, but then he pulls out too,
He's not going to pull out of this. He's got a TV contract. These men are being paid. His son is not. Khan is just the guy with the money. His son is the one that's the head of the company. Okay? Yeah. Separate the man with the money, Vince McMahon, from the company, XFL. Oh, you got to separate the man from the money. And I had a thought. Could Vince McMahon, in some way, shape, or form, is there like a legal... Disney bought up Fox, and that means they got Fox stock and all that stuff, right? They own it all. But does it become Disney stock, or does it stay Fox stock and Disney manages it? Could Vince do something where maybe he transfers some stock into the XFL's coffers as part of the XFL itself? They own so many shares of WWE stock to start with. They own the stock there. Could that be something Vince could set up to where that company would have perpetual income no matter what? It will always have some sort of income?
I think individually, yes, but I think as far as the Alpha Entertainment side of it, no.
That's what I think
that's because Vince wants to keep the two companies separate.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see him, allow, his business, his employees, whatever, to be able to buy in stock at like the employee discount or whatever it is that they have with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised if Oliver Luck was getting a ridiculously good price for shares. So
he's got
yeah, exactly. And as far as the business is concerned, though, as far as the WWE with their stocks versus the XFL, I think the two companies are just going to be independent companies from one another. I don't think that there's going to be any correlation other than transferring money from one business to another. I think that's going to be the most that we're going to see. I don't think Oliver Luck's going to show up on Monday Night Raw and have a match at WrestleMania. And I don't think the Undertaker's going to come out and do his stage walk, in an XFL game. I think that's those days are long behind us.
Oliver Luck is not going to challenge both Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow to a three-way elimination style death match.
Well, no, you could never say that a pro football player is. No, I could see Gronkowski showing up at a WrestleMania.
He's not going to wrestle. He's not going to the WWE.
No, not going. But it'll be a one-off.
He's going to make a shit ton more money doing movies.
Language.
His body can't. Whatever. His body can't go through it. That's the biggest thing.
All right, so here's a question, guys. All right, to tying this in. Vince McMahon tried to buy that, and we've touched on this once or twice. He tried to buy the CFL. Okay, CFL preseason started today. Let's bring a little bit of football back into this. Competition. AEW, competition for WWF, owned by Vince McMahon. Ironically, Vince McMahon in the football business. Football business tried to buy CFL in 2000 or 99. Damn near bought the CFL Football League that is on financially hard times right now. 6 out of the 9 current teams were in the red last year in the CFL. Randy Ambrosie, the league commissioner of the CFL, is making big, stunning, surprising changes, adjustments to the way the CFL operates. They just completed a deal, a collective bargaining agreement deal between the players' union. The first preseason game was today between the Eskimos they blew out they didn't blow them out, 22-7, beat the BC Lions today in the first preseason game. Memorial Day weekend is always the first, basically the beginning of the CFL season. They go from Memorial Day to Thanksgiving, essentially, in the CFL. Do we think that, like you said, 3 years, success, Michael, you called 3 years and they'll be able to raise salaries and so on and so forth. We know that the CFL got a new TV deal this offseason. 3 years on the new TV deal. Their TV deal is almost identical to the XFL's TV deal. Oh, how ironic is that? Now, Randy Ambrosie has been working on the CFL 2.0. He's drafting players from other countries. They're instituting a roster spot for international players that are non-Canadian and non-American players. They got a relationship with Mexico, Italy, France, Austria, Germany. I mean, they're like 11 countries that they're working with right now. They need to work on that Japan X and move over to Japan. I feel that's going to be coming soon. But do we think that Vince McMahon could make another leap and potentially, if they keep struggling, you show up next year with 6 players in the red again, or in the following year, and both you guys are on ESPN2. I alluded to a week or two ago on this show that I think the XFL will help the CFL as far as tune in. We got the championship game for the XFL, but don't forget the CFL starting a couple weeks later, same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be playing more football here on this network. Okay? Do not think for a second that they will not be marketing these leagues in tandem. Do we think that Vince McMahon could come in and make another big purchase, another big splash?
No.
Within a 3-year gap?
No.
Hard no.
Money
that's a hard no.
Michael, RJ, Harry.
Yes, I understand that money talks, but it's a hard no.
Hard no, why?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's go back to 2000.
No, how does it benefit Vince McMahon to own the CFL or any other league other than the one that he has his heart set on founding? He's got an
Because he
ideal.
already tried to buy them once. Who's to say he doesn't want to buy them
Well, perhaps
again?
that's why he decided to relaunch the XFL, is because he couldn't buy them.
No, he couldn't buy them before he launched the XFL the first time. He missed it by a few votes. Okay, it was very close. He almost bought the CFL in 1990.
But then that's why he launched the
XFL.
Right.
He couldn't purchase.
Who's to say he doesn't see dollars and money that they're leaving out?
Because if they're struggling financially already, John, he's not going to dump his money into it. If that was the case, he would have bought the AAF.
Yeah.
If CFL's struggling financially, he's not going to try to bail him out on that. He's just going to make the XFL and be like.
And the thing with the XFL. And the XFL is owned by Yeah,
It's
the
not a
XFL.
bailout. It's not a bailout when you buy.
But the
That's
XFL
what
is owned by one company. Alpha Sports Entertainment owned the XFL outright, 100%. Every team,
Alpha
every
Entertainment could buy the CFL
everything.
right now if they felt like it.
If he felt like it, but he doesn't feel like it. He's got other fish to fry. He's
The
got
whole
an
league is
ideal.
worth $240
The
million.
XFL, Vince
He
has
wants to
spent
expand.
so
Check
much
out
damn
his
money
first
trying
checking.
to figure out how to retune the game of
Wants to expand in
football.
the States.
There is so much at stake. The whole point of the XFL is to, as the slogan is, reimagine the game. They're going to make it faster. There's going to be less penalties. There's going to be less dumb stuff happening on the field. It's going to be a quicker game. The pace is going to be quicker. Scoring is going to be unique. Things are going to be different from the NFL. It's going to be a different type of football all around. They are investing money in creating equipment to ensure the safety and welfare of the men out on the field every week playing games, to prevent concussions, not sit there and hand them the same stuff that doesn't work. Vince has spent money actively researching, and he's got a lot invested anyway with time and money and research in the concussion system over at WWE. He's taking all of this, what he knows, and he's bringing it to football. And on top of that, what they've already got that they know, he's got professionals. And I'm not talking, he's got people that worked in the NFL, people that suffered concussions, doctors, scientists. He's probably got crash test guys doing crash test dummies for him somewhere in a lab. But Vince is trying to create a football style and a product, not just it's a product, a brand that will last and will mean something and will have a loyal fan base that come back time and again because they enjoy that. Just like RJ, Bryce, Michael, Kevin, you, every time you put on an arena league or an indoor league game and watch that with intent. John, you love your arena and indoor football. Okay? Every time, just like that. That's what Vince wants. Just like that. Those fans that are there every week. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. This will be to be honest, the NFL will probably look at this league as a competitor for the simple fact that this league, if it wanted to, could shell out money to get talent that the NFL may be looking at. Because they'll have the funds to do it.
3 years. That's the key part. It's 3 years.
Number three.
Because if it's successful in the first 3 years and it launches the way that we all think and expect it's going to launch, he's going to make money hand over fist, and they're going to be able to do contracts with guaranteed money that's going to lead to saying you're locked into an XFL contract, which means those contracts can extend for further than 3 years. You start locking in those star quarterbacks for 5-6 years. You start locking in those star receivers for 5 years. Next thing you know, those guys can't go play in the NFL, and the NFL's sitting here going, now there's a giant drop-off from our starters to our backups.
And
Because the majority of our backups are playing for the XFL now.
And wouldn't you agree that
effing quarterbacks
knowing,
to take over when Alex Smith goes
and
down?
would you agree that knowing that here's another football league, the XFL, that can afford a multi-million-dollar contract? I'm a college student getting ready to graduate. You know what? I'm going to declare for the XFL draft, not the NFL draft.
That hurts.
Here's the deal: would you rather get paid? Would you rather get paid $5 million a year and potentially be sacked by J.J. Watt, who has ended the career of like 2 or 3 quarterbacks already, or would you rather get paid $1 million a year and get sacked by who's the guy, the linebacker that was down in Orlando Apollos that had a great season, or Schultz over there?
Garvin. Was it Garvin?
Terrence
Garvin.
Would you rather be in fear of Terrence Garvin or J.J. Watt? So you're in fear of Terrence Garvin at $1 million a year, or in fear of J.J. Watt for $5 million a year? Take your pick.
Or you're a guy that the NFL wouldn't give more than $100,000 a year to go practice on a field.
No,
and the
that's
XFL,
a good question because as a backup in the NFL or a first round, let's say you're a first rounder in your first 4 years, is only $4 or $5 million a year for 4 years. If you make it to your second contract, you could blow it up. You know what I mean? Like Matt Stafford and go 8-8 forever, 6-10 to 8-8 forever, and make a bajillion dollars. right? But like if you're not Matt Stafford, let's just say you're who's that quarterback that busted his knee up in Minnesota and now is like on his third team in 3 years?
For the third week in a row, John. Sam Bradford.
No, not that one. The dark-skinned one that busted his knee up in Minnesota. He was good.
Terry Bridgewater?
Bridgewater, yeah. Bridge over troubled water, troubled knee. So let's say you're Bridgewater, right? Would you like to go, come into a league and maybe make $4 or $5 million a year and be faced with the lumber movers of J.J. Watt and who else? Randy Gregory and these guys that really know how to get at the quarterback. Would you rather go up against Schultz and Garvin for a nice cool $1.5 million, $2 million, in the XFL and be a real superstar?
Yeah, but see, what you're failing to realize is that should the XFL take off, as everyone, this is one of the most highly anticipated and looked forward to launches of any brand ever. They have done such a good job.
I opened up a landscaping company about 12 years ago. I beg to differ.
Vince has done such a good job of building anticipation for the product. They're doing such a good job of building anticipation in their core market, the football fan. Okay, and they're making mainstream news at the same time with some of what they're doing. Therefore, in 3 years' time, the Alpha Sports and Entertainment, XFL, if you will, the XFL is successful. They're making money. They can now afford to give guaranteed contracts. And here's the point. Because they're making money, they can afford to give $5 and $6 million deals to guys that are worth that kind of money for them to have as part of their league.
The biggest issue that we're having here that we're not touching on, because we keep talking XFL and NFL. And
CFL, all of them. Can they compete with them?
But what I'm saying is when we talk about the XFL, we're talking XFL and NFL mainly.
Mainly.
The problem is the NCAA in this equation.
Yeah.
Is going to have to change something. Because if the XFL is successful in a short, I wouldn't even say 3 years, in 2 years.
If the first
year is super successful.
1 year.
If the
first year is super successful and it's a hot ticket item and it's blowing up, you will start seeing these recruits skipping college and going to the XFL to make these millions of dollars. And I know that we have some people on the panel here that don't agree with that, and they don't think that that's what it is. I'll tell you what, if you can sit here and tell me right now that if the NBA did not have, and I know it's a different sport, but if the NBA did not have that 1 year, you have to go to college rule, these guys would be jumping at 18 to go make money professionally.
All right, so this is now
it's the same thing with the NFL.
Now you're speaking my language, Michael, and thank you for the segue. I'm going to be I'm going to Deep Creek Lake to walk a trek and go look at houses, second homes tomorrow in Deep Creek Lake, or I'm going to the Big 33 in Pennsylvania. Okay, the Big 33 in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania tomorrow at 3 p.m. in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is basically the Senior Bowl of Maryland high school players versus Pennsylvania high school players, all-star game that happens every single year, at a destination location. This year it happens to be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. I may go to that game. Now, that is what I do. It's what I love. I love looking at these young players, these young up-and-coming superstars. Where are they going to college? Who have they committed to? What were their numbers in high school? What was the competition that they saw? Division 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A. What were they? 2A, whatever. Who's their coach? What kind of ties does he have to the school, to the local area? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, because this is where football starts. It starts at the youth level. All right, which most of us have played and all that, all the way up through high school, college, pros. Now, with that being said, all it's going to take is one player to come over from college to the XFL or high school to the XFL, and the goddamn dominoes will fall. from there.
Okay.
Excuse
Here's a question, John. So, if you're the XFL, you don't want just Joe Schmo jumping over, because as much as Joe Schmo is a decent player, you want all these Tier 1 guys jumping over. So, how are you going to convince these Tier 1 guys to jump over? Because, like, as much as, Jimmy Ray out of college is a great thing, they can just say partway through college, I'm going to jump to XFL. What's going to make them do it from day one? How are you going to convince a top high school prospect to give up all these, because the NCAA is starting to contemplate paying players.
No, they're reaching a settlement on that video game thing.
The video game's already been settled. It's been settled for 2 years.
Yeah, this is a new thing.
This is a whole new thing that they're talking about, possibly compensating their players to play and pay, which.
Well, we knew from Jump Street, 21 Jump Street, that when the XFL said that they would take underclassmen, that the NCAA would eventually contemplate paying players, figure out a way to pay players. But here's the deal with the NCAA and their system. If they're going to pay football players, which on a lot of universities, the football team pays for the other athletic establishments, within that university. Okay, so Towson, great lacrosse program, pretty decent football program for its size of college and the division that it plays in. Okay, but how many people do you know show up to the Towson baseball games or the Towson rowing team games? None. Zero. I bet you got no phone numbers in your cell phone of people that show up to those games. Zero. So those sports are costing the university money, not making the university money. So for every dollar that they pay a football player, for the love of keeping a football player at their university, they have to spread that love through all of their other academic systems. Okay,
and that's the reason why
and it's total.
Right. That's
here's
why
the problem.
They don't do it, because then there's a
catch-22. The whole
issue. They can look at it all they want, but it's not going to work, because then you have to pay the swimming team, you have to pay the lacrosse team, you have to play the volleyball team.
Here is the whole problem with the whole logic of any of this. And I'm going to speak from a personal situation that happened in my state with my Ohio State Buckeyes, where men were disgraced because they sold their own property, and the NCAA had a problem with that. It was their property, not yours. They were disgraced. A coach stepped down because of a scandal. Remember that, boys? Jim Tressel having to step down because of that scandal about his players selling their damn stuff to get some tattoos and stuff.
Maurice Claret.
And that right there shows me that the NCAA has too much power in a university to cause that kind of a situation. Because one, it was none of their damn business. It was those boys earned those rings, not the NCAA doesn't own them. You basically are telling these men that win these championships and get those rings that, for the rest of your life, you're our property. Who the hell is the NCAA? They are one of the worst governing bodies of all time. We have divisions and leagues within that make no sense. We have schools that should never face a school of the caliber that they have to face for no reason, no reason whatsoever. It is just illogical how they do things. Okay? It's just like the NFL. It's very illogical how they do business anymore. They don't care about the people who put money in their pockets, the people out there buying the swag and supporting their favorite players and stuff. They don't care about their fans, because if they do, they would make those games accessible to the fans, not the sideline seats for $3,000 a ticket. It would be back when I was a kid, you can go to a football game for $5 and sit up high up in the bleachers or wherever. But now, it's a cheap seat's $50. That is not for the fans. That's for your own pocketbooks. And that's what the NCAA is trying to do, for their own pocketbooks, for the pocketbooks and coffers of the universities in which they are involved with. They're going to pay people. Oh, you come down here to Alabama, we'll give you $1 million. You come down here to Ohio State, we'll give you $2 million. Hell no. First of all, these are publicly sourced schools. They get money from the federal and state governments as far
You
as
wanna
grants
know
and
another
loans
reason
and things
why
of
they
that
don't pay
nature.
players in college? You want to know another reason? You guys want to know another? I'm going to tell you. The insurance business in football, like we found out with the AAF, where the Apollos couldn't even practice 51% of their practices in the state of Florida because of some stupid health insurance rule. Okay, they had to go to Georgia, some high school stadium field, which, oh, by the way, I had emailed the team. I had emailed the Apollos, and I said, we're coming down for the Week 8 or Week 9 game, whatever it was. It was going to be Arizona Hotshots coming to Orlando. I believe it was Arizona. We had tickets. I still haven't gotten my money back for my tickets, by the way. I've let that go. I'll just let them pay their other more important entities that they owe money to. But we were going to attend a practice, okay, in Georgia on our way down to the weekend of the home Orlando Apollos game where they were going to host, I believe, Orlando. My memory serves me correct. We still have the tickets. They're somewhere here. But
Raymond, those are going to be worth $1 billion on eBay next year.
I'm sure they're going to be worth, double the Joe Nuxall.
Unused, unused tickets.
Let me get to the point.
I'll give you a peanut butter jelly sandwich for him.
Because of health insurance, they couldn't even practice in the state that they play games in the majority of the time. All right, now this is so stupid.
No.
That insurance companies, they air these great commercials like Mayhem, like me, and a State Farm. They love you. Geico, they roll out their little green lizard, and he loves us too. But, when it comes time to push and shove, they'll push and shove you around financially. Okay, they don't even want you to practice in the state that you play in because, insurance purposes, they don't want to cover you. Now, with the drama that Vince McMahon has gone through as far as health insurance with his wrestlers, okay, I'd hate to burst your bubble, wrestling fanboys, on this show, but there was a documentary that came out, or not a documentary, but a piece by that guy, John Oliver, last week in News Tonight, or whatever the hell his show is called on HBO.
Yeah.
Where he pretty much blasted Vince McMahon for not providing health insurance for his wrestlers. Do we think this is going to be a thing? Because I've been Googling my butt off, just like I was Googling out the lockets earlier today. I've been Googling what is the XFL health insurance policy.
Okay.
For the league and its players.
Here's the thing, John.
Is it going
John,
to
here's the thing.
be able to? Is it going to be able to sweeten the pot for a guy out of college or a guy out of high school to come and take the risk of playing?
John,
okay?
John, here's the thing. One.
Oh, wait. Before you.
No. You wait. You open this bag. You wait. Okay.
What's about health insurance?
Okay. You wait. The people that work for WWE. That they're hired under what is known as a 1099. They're independent contractors, and that's how Vince sees them. That's why they don't have insurance. And as a wrestling analyst that has made a career out of talking professional wrestling and has a show on a very well-known 3-letter network, I know a lot about Vince McMahon and what his woes are. Okay. That he doesn't provide insurance, yes, it's a thing that has been bitched about by a lot of people for a lot of years. However, you must understand that they sign a contract knowing they're independent contractors, and therefore they would be responsible for their own health insurance. You can never, ever, because, John, if you sign a deal with Party A to work on their property and cut down a tree, and you don't have insurance, and then you try to sue them, guess what? It's your fault because you signed a contract, and by definitional law of what you would require to perform that deed, you would be required to have some sort of insurance. Okay, that would be your fault. Now, do the people in WWE suffer greatly? No. WWE takes care of its athletes. They have top-tier health care. And just because they have to pay for their own personal and private expenses does not mean WWE is not paying for those surgeries on necks, on limbs that are damaged in the ring, on shoulders and on knees. I bet you $1 to a dime that company is assisting. Perhaps they don't have health insurance.
They usually pay for the rehab, Harry.
Okay, but that's still
rehabilitation of any sort. The company usually pays for it.
so they are contributing to the overall, and rehabilitation can be the most expensive part of some of these injuries. Correct? So
what I'm saying is football is a high risk, high contact sport. Why does my freshman or sophomore butt want to come join your new league if I'm not compensated not only financially, but it's very easy to get injured in football. We all saw a running back.
I am almost positive, John, that running a football league of sorts, the health insurance has to be acquired somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, that would be.
I don't know what the deal was with the Orlando situation. I don't know what happened with the Orlando situation.
It's unavailable because I've Googled my butt off to try to find it. I want to know if this league that I'm a big fan of, oh, by the way, I want the XFL to succeed. Are they in a position to take care of their players and to tell the public that
they will? But yes.
Don't just tell me that you're tweaking the kickoff.
Yes, they will, because there are going to be
they're
going to be laws already in place and established that require them to because of the business. It's the fact this is not professional wrestling. This is not a fake sport. This, I repeat, is not scripted. This is real professional football being played by teams on a field of green grass with stripes painted on it.
Wrestling's not fake.
Okay.
Still real to you, huh? Anyway, we know this is not. It's a totally different monster that's being created here. Football is football. It is an athletic event, and being that the NFL owners have insurance, being that basketball players and baseball, all these teams have to have insurance for their players. One would come to a logical conclusion that indeed, if the XFL is a professional football league, then it would be required, as per laws and regulations established for this type of thing, that they would have proper health care and insurance for their players.
To play devil's advocate, do you see the argument from a naysayer who loves college football and maybe is a parent of a student athlete who's a superstar in high school that now sees this Johnny-come-lately football league come along owned by this wrestling guy who doesn't offer insurance to his wrestlers?
You're saying he doesn't offer insurance, but by state he's going to. It's got to happen. You can't say something that you cannot validate. You cannot validate that they will not have health care for their players. And by definition of it being a legit professional sport, there are already laws and regulations in place that would demand that these companies have insurance. It's true of every other major sport. They have insurance for their players. Therefore, it can only make sense that if Vince McMahon's going to have this XFL taken so seriously and it be what we want it to be, they will offer health care. If I am a guy in the college football, and I love to play, but I haven't heard nothing from the NFL scouts. I don't know it, because those scouts are talking to the players they're interested in. You know damn well they are. There's all kinds of stuff going on that we don't know about because it's not our business. It's the business of the league.
Well, it's the business we're talking about.
And I understand that, but there are things in every business. There are things that happen at AT&T that there are people in this world that have no idea what's going on behind the scenes there. They're not privy to it, and they shouldn't be, because that's what makes things move forward.
Head coaches will be eligible for up to $500,000 salary, with each team having a football operations staff of 25 people. The XFL explicitly wants to avoid any minor league developable partnership with the NFL or any other league so as not to lose control of its personnel decisions. 45 players will be signed to each team roster, up from 38 in the previous league. In contrast to the original XFL, players' health insurance will be covered by the league.
Do they have health insurance?
Yes.
Will not be.
What level of health insurance, Michael?
There will not be a labor union at the start of the league, so there will not be a collective bargaining agreement. But they do anticipate that there will be a labor union if successful after year 3 to 4.
Where are you reading this from? Because this is information I've never seen.
Well, it's called Google. The power of Google, my man. All you have to do is type in X.
What is the? Don't tell me it's Wikipedia. I'll kill you.
The whole
thing. Type in XFL health insurance policy.
No, I don't want to do that. I'm talking to you. You're talking to me. I don't want to Google.
And we have a.
Well, I'm just telling you. I just read it verbatim.
Okay, I understand
we sit here.
that. Don't tell me you were reading a Wikipedia page. I will.
It was not Wikipedia. I already X'd out of it. Anyways, besides the point, the league is going to cover it, and it's been cited. And Oliver Luck already said it in a press conference.
This would be something that if I were involved in the XFL, I would be emphasizing to the public, we will have adequate insurance.
They do. They talk about it. They publish articles on
every
it.
Possibility of
How is that not emphasizing to the public?
Regardless of all that, whatever their insurance policy is, the tier of it, whatever. All that will be decided with the players. The thing is that I find interesting with that situation is the players' health insurance is being covered by the league without a collective bargaining agreement in place right now.
Boom.
I find that interesting. I find that interesting because now the XFL has the overall 100% say as to what is covered underneath the insurance policy. The players are going to eventually have to band together to create a union so they don't get screwed by the XFL. If the XFL was to screw their players, which I do not believe that they will. Here's the thing with Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon that I will beat it until I will beat a dead horse until this is legitimately the season is done. Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck do not want this league to fail. They're not going to screw over their players. They're going to provide the proper and adequate health insurance for their players because they want this league to succeed. Right. That cannot be stressed enough, John, because the league being successful means everything to Vince McMahon, even at the senile age of 98 or however old he is.
He's 73.
I don't care. He crapped his pants on TV. So yes, he did. No, he crapped his pants on TV. They cut a promo short because he crapped himself. Anyways,
it was staged like Owen Hart falling from the rafters.
Oh yes.
Now let's get one thing straight. Vince McMahon has denied this level of insurance to his wrestlers as independent contractors.
It's a different situation.
He doesn't have to provide insurance for an independent contractor. And it's
not. No professional wrestling company provides health insurance unless it's an independent contract. They have to get their own.
Exactly.
Professional wrestlers go into the business knowing this.
It's
the only thing that WWE does is guarantee the money side of things now.
You're telling me that the same guy that denies employee status for its workers, whose
doesn't. They're independent contractors.
Right. So you're telling me the same guy that denies said insurance for its independent contractors is going to open up another business.
No company in their right mind is going to pay an independent contractor's health insurance unless it's in the contract that was signed by that company or by that person. That makes no logic.
Why would somebody own two separate companies?
Because one produces professional wrestling, music, movies, and things like that, and is one of the world's largest entertainment conglomerates. And one is a professional football league. That's all Alpha is about. He is the financier, just like Tony Khan is the financier of AEW, Vince McMahon, and Alpha Entertainment.
And I believe it was ESPN, by the way.
And they are the ones that are backing these products. They don't. Tony Khan could give a damn less if he lost some money, but Vince McMahon has something to prove, and it was that Vince McMahon, this man who, in the year 1999, made an announcement, and then in the year 2000, 2001, a professional football league that had a dream called the XFL came along. And that dream was really screwed up because they involved professional wrestling with the football, and it made it suck hard. Vince McMahon had a dream to start a promotion that was football. Vince McMahon's his dream was not realized. His purpose was not realized. He sees it as a blemish on his record. He went before Congress and lied and walked out clean. He has done some stuff that normal men would lose their lives for most of the time or be brought up on charges for. And
Money talks.
money does talk, but at the time he lied to Congress, he didn't have that money. He was nowhere near this Vince McMahon. This was Capital Sports. This was Titan Enterprises. This was nothing to do with World Wrestling Entertainment. That came many years later. But Vince McMahon suffered a setback in his career, in his life, of what he thought he could achieve, and he came back in his later days, his last years, and he knows his time is short on this planet, to correct that. And in doing so, what he did was he established a company in which he could put money, invest money, to create a football brand called the XFL, because really XFL is a pretty cool name for a football league. At the same time, he realized, I'm not the guy to run this XFL because I don't know XFL football. I don't know football. I am a fan, but what I know is like professional wrestling and how to get people to buy into what I'm selling. I'm pretty good at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some money up, and I'm going to create the league, and then I'm going to go get somebody with a lot of clout in the world of football, Oliver Luck, and I'm going to say, Oliver, here's the deal. I'll sit back here. My pocketbook is open. We're going to set a budget. Every year we got this budget. I will do my bit. I will get us TV. I will get us outlets. I will get us talked about. I will do what I can do. I will promote. And I will also supply the money. Oliver, your job is to build this league. You take the vision I have and you make it a reality. And Oliver, I'm not going to have my hands in the cookie jar. I'm going to help where I can help, and I'm going to offer training to those who I could help in their ability to promote and to sell our product. But at the end of the day, I'm just Vince McMahon, and I'm going to sit back here and just retire and watch this league grow and sit here with my boys, my grandsons, and my family, and watch XFL games on the weekends. So this is your league. You go ahead and you build it, Oliver. You do what you think is right. And so far, every choice that Oliver Luck has made, every decision that Oliver Luck has made, and that the team that has been put together within the XFL right now, every move shows you how dead serious Vince McMahon is about having the XFL become a league that will be here in 25 years, that in 50 years will be celebrating its 50th championship game, that in 50 years could be that league that either rivals the NFL or it could be the league that kills the NFL. We don't know yet. Only time will tell. That's the way it is in the world of sports. That's the way things go in the world of football. We have a lot of things going on this week here on AFNN. Be sure to listen in tomorrow night, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. RJ Ciancio. RJ, thank you for being here tonight to talk with us on AFN Live. And the coach, Lynn Hart Jr., will be over there talking everything about the AFL and the IFL and some of the other NAL and things like that, too. They'll be discussing that over there on, what's the name of that show, RJ?
Indoor Football Experience.
See it. RJ's preoccupied.
I don't know. Is he watching Pornhub again? Jeez. Anyway.
He's watching me on.
Cut that out of the edit. No, I'm listening to you guys. I was waiting for you guys to, I don't know. You guys seem to be having to become going back and forth on the wrestling stuff, and that ain't my forte, so I'll let you guys take over what you guys knew.
Well, see, what I'm asking you is, what's the name of your show over there on tomorrow night?
The Indoor Football Experience.
With Coach Lynn Hart Jr. and RJ Ciancio. And what do you guys talk about over there, RJ?
Anything and everything indoor and arena football related, whether it's logistics of running a team, whether it's us giving our commentary on what we think leagues could do better, what the good things we're seeing in the leagues are. We're going to be having some guests come on the show periodically. Really, if you got any questions about how the Indoor Football League works or any league works in this sport, this is the show where you're going to learn about it. And, Coach Hart, has an amazing resume. He's been involved since 1995 when he was working in St. Louis Stampede as an equipment manager. He since has been repping. He worked in Arena Football 2 for the longest time. He was a front office man for the River City Rage and River City Raiders of the AIF. Meanwhile, I'm part of this new generation of indoor football aficionados, and the game's evolving. At first it was on these big TV networks, now it's becoming more regional in recession. So it's a meeting of two different generations passionate about one great thing. And if you want to learn about the sport or, just support alternative football as a whole, this is the place you're going to do it.
And it's a great place to go to. You guys will definitely be entertained. That'll be tomorrow night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern here on AFNN.net. Michael,
I'm here.
Thank you for joining us. I know you're a little busy these days, so you're a little late coming in, but that's totally fine because we do value what you have to say here on AFN Live. You and Kevin, is Kevin going to be all right for Wednesday night?
If not, I will have to find a guest to come on and split in the end zone with me.
I bet you we have a volunteer in John Turner. John, got to get things. John is the one of the main.
Volunteer to run into burning buildings to save people, so I volunteer. That's what I do. It's who I am.
He never. It wasn't a burning building. There was a damn dragon with some white-haired bimbo out there standing. He was trying to get a date.
Firefighter in this county.
Trying to get a date. Yeah, we know, Mr. What is he? A Targaryen? What do you call him? He's one of them White Walkers.
House Stark, sir.
Yeah. So. They got something going on called Football World. It's a website, but it's also a Facebook group. It's actually a really large Facebook group where they discuss indoor, outdoor, arena, Canadian, Lithuanian, Portuguese, German, whatever type of football, as long as they're playing it American
football
style.
Being played out in space. We're talking about it.
Yeah, the Mars League. I heard about that startup. There's some quadrillionaire. The Mars League, yeah. Yeah, that's Marvin. Right. I heard they hired Marvin to be their
Thanos Snap Football League.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? That would be a scary football league. I'm really serious about that.
Expanded Universe Football League.
We should create a Marvel versus DC football league.
I tried
How would
to
they
do
work?
the Game of Thrones football fantasy draft, and some of you football fans out there started to ask me like who these people are. I said, you know what? I said Tormund Giantsbane would make an excellent edge rusher, and people were like, who?
Ask him who Voldemort is, and they'll know.
How disappointed I was to read some of these comments.
And with that being said, we'll bring to a close this night of professional football, basketball. You know what? It's AFN Live. Anything is possible here on AFN Live. We will talk about anything and everything as long as it relates to football. And I'm not talking soccer. I'm talking football. On that note, I got to send this out. I got to say this before we go off here real quick. There was a match that occurred at the AEW event, Dustin Rhodes and Cody Rhodes. Folks, go on YouTube, go wherever you got to go. Google that. Watch that match. You're going to see what the world of professional wrestling is all about. Peace out. And I hope that Vince and the boys don't run into none of these.
You